everyone, Tori here with something special. I'm going to do a card today and it's called Happy Birthday. And a bunch of you have been asking me to do a card process video and I've been terrified, but I'm gonna do it just because I love you all so much. So please leave nice comments. I hope it's not too painful. Anyways, I'm just showing the two stamp sets that I'm planning on using today. The frog that I'm using came in the Studio Calico Odyssey card kit this month. Now, one of the things I really like to do when I'm bored is just stamp a bunch of images and color them in with Copic markers. And that's what I had done. And then I decided that I wanted to use some of the images that I had colored in for this card. And I'm going to actually be using 3 frogs. Now, I'm not going to show you how I colored them just because I'm not an expert at Copic coloring. I just sort of do it for fun. So I'm not going to show you that, but I'll just tell you which markers I used. I used YG61, YG63, and G99. And I just laid those down, and then I added some spots to the frogs as well. Now, to start, I knew that I wanted to use this really funky pattern that came in the pattern paper pad, and I'm also just using an A2 card size, which I think is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and so I'm trimming my paper here to just slightly less than that. I'm taking 1/4 of an inch off of each side so that there's just a little bit of white trim around the card. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to sort of make holes for these little frogs to pop their heads through. So I grabbed my Fiskars circle punch, and I think this is a 1-inch circle, maybe more than that, I'm not sure. And I punched 3 holes in that pattern paper so that my frogs would have 3 little spots to peek their heads through. Now, I decided I wanted to do something on the background so it wasn't just white. So I decided to grab my Distress ink mini pads, and I'm using 2 of them. I'm using Shaded Lilac and Faded Jeans, and I'm starting with the lilac one, and I'm just sort of rubbing that all over the card, and then I'll go back with Faded Jeans to just add a little bit of blue. I'm just going to speed that up because it takes me a little while to decide how dark I want to make it and everything. So I masked it off just with a piece of washi tape so that just the front of the card would have that distress colored ink on it. And I'm just using a piece of scrap paper to make it so that it doesn't get all over my craft mat. So what you want to do is start off of the card and then rub onto the card so that you don't get a sharp line. And I'm doing circles, which you can't really see, but it works like that. And I'm trying to make it, I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to mix together really well. And I want it to look sort of like water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a misting bottle and I'm just going to spray that lightly so that there's inks, so that the ink will mix together well and that you'll have some of those water droplets. And it actually looks really cool when once it's dried and the front is on there and the frogs are on there. It sort of looks like water. I love the way that worked out. Then I pull off my masking tape and it's a perfect straight line. Oh, I love that. That's like Christmas Day when you reveal it and it looks great. So the next step for my card will be to fussy cut my frogs. So I skipped over that because nobody wants to watch me fussy cut. And I cut out the 3 frogs. And then I'm going to place them on the card. But before I do that, I decided to just add a little more detail. So I grabbed a white Uniball gel pen and just added little tiny dots near the bottom of the frogs just to add a little bit of detail to them and make them pop even more. I'm also going to use my clear Wink of Stella pen in a little while to add some sparkle, just because, you know, frogs look better with sparkles, right? This is a little boy's birthday card, so I'm trying not to go too girly, but it is so hard for me to make boy cards. It's such a struggle, but I think these frogs look boyish enough. Anyways, I'm just adhering that front panel down to the front of the card, and I'm just adhering it right down. Oh, after I had put the adhesive on, I realized that I wanted to ink up the edges. So I just used some black Stays-On ink to ink up the edges just to add a little more of a distressed look and to just finish it off. It probably would have worked to matte that as well, and then I would have had to punch the holes again, so I figured I'll just ink up the edges and that will work just fine. After I inked up the edges, I placed it down and adhered that really nicely, and then I'm going to place my little froggies in and figure out how I want them to stick in there. So I'm going to have some of them straight up, and then I think a couple of them will be leaning over a little bit. So here I am using my clear Wink of Stella just to add a little bit of sparkle and finesse to them. I don't know, it helps them look more dimensional. I love that clear Wink of Stella pen, it's so great. And I think it just really adds something to the entire look of the card. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to stick the froggies back in there and figure out how to adhere them. So I decided I wanted them to be popping out. I didn't want them to lay flat. So I'm just going to place a little bit of adhesive on them and then add some pop dots behind the part that's sticking out the most. That way those frogs will really pop out of the cards. Now if you're wondering what adhesive I'm using a Glue Glider Pro Permatac adhesive. And then the pop dots, I can't remember where they are. I think they were a gift actually. So once I've done that, I decided I really wanted to make these frogs stand out even more. So I grabbed some adorable googly eyes. Oh, I love them. They're so cute. And I'm just going to cover up the eyes that are already on the frogs and just put some of these adorable little googly eyes on there. Now the glue that I'm using is Ranger Multimedia Matte glue. It's like a matte glue so that if any of the glue squeezes or oozes out that it won't be glossy or anything, you can't see it. And I feel like those eyes just add so much to the look of this card. Now, I felt like the frogs needed something to distinguish them, so I decided to grab these bitty bows. They're black, and I got them at Walmart, and I decided to just grab one of them and stick them on the bottom frog. Now that that's done, I need to add my sentiment, and I want to add a happy birthday sentiment. So I grabbed this blue tag that came in one of the kits this month. It has a number on it, but I'm just going to cut that off. And then I use black StazOn ink to stamp happy birthday and a little tiny light bug beside the happy birthday. And that is from this stamp set that I received a couple months ago from Studio Calico, or I purchased it at Studio Calico. And I feel like that just looks so cute on there. I really love the way that it worked out. So I didn't want to just stick it down. I wanted to add some dimension, but I couldn't really pull up the backing to staple it on. So what I did is I put the staple through the label first, then I put adhesive on the back of the label and stuck that down to the card. And then I felt like it just needed one more thing, a little touch, just to finish up the card. And I decided that one final little touch was some sequins. So I grabbed light green and dark green Color Theory sequins from Studio Calico and sort of put those in a line. Well, it's not really a straight line, it's more like a wavy line along the card. And I'm going to adhere that with some Ranger Multimedia Matte glue. And that's it. The card is done. And I think I love it. So thanks everyone for watching, for liking and subscribing. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!